Good. Today was situational. A lot of third down work, a lot of red zone work. Yesterday was kind of a base day, like it always is. I thought yesterday our guys were, you worry about sometimes get this time of year if they'll come out on a Tuesday that far away from the game and how into it they'll be. I thought we were really into it. You can just tell the guys had good energy, good pep in their step, and really focusing on what we were trying to do. Today was a good day for us. It's an important day just because the situations always matter, and Ole Miss is pretty good in those situations. They're pretty good on third down defense, so it was a critical day for us. Thought we got some good work. Oh, it's huge. And, he was available last weekend. He was by no means 100%. And just fortunate that the way the game went, we were able to get him some more rest. But he's been able to practice every day this week, and he's looking good. And so that just obviously helps solidify the depth in our backfield.
Rhett, Stanton Truett, just talk about that move and how you think what you.
Yeah, we made it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Stanton obviously had a really good fall camp for us and was doing some good things, and just kind of the way everything was working. He's always been kind of half a receiver, half a running back. He's a real thick, stocky guy, even though he's not real tall. He's extremely explosive. He's got running back skills with the ball in his hand. So we went ahead and made that move. Credit to him for kind of buying into that, because you're sitting there going, well, I was getting to play, and now I'm kind of having to take a step back and all that. And he's worked really hard. I mean, he was up here early at times watching tape and just trying to learn the position, learn the system, and him and Coach Horton, and he did a really good job. And it was good to see him, kind of reap those rewards with his opportunity on Saturday. And then also for us, I mean, you can see the added dimension he brings. I mean, he's got a different gear. And, obviously he proved he can run really in between the tackles very well. And obviously he can catch the ball because he had been a wideout. So he's obviously a huge added weapon for us on offense.
When it comes to your offensive line, Gus said Tuesday that we have six guys we know we can play.
Right.
Is there anybody beyond that six you feel like you can put in a game right now and feel good about what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely there's more guys. But I think what Coach was saying is, we feel like there's six starters up there. I mean, we have all the faith in the world in X, and just, kind of the way things have been working lately, we're just kind of sticking with the unit we have. But again, with 5 games left, we've been fortunate so far, but you just got to be ready. You're one play away from things changing up there. The best thing is our guys, I feel like up front, have improved dramatically from week 1 to where we are now, just from the physicality, the vertical movement we get, and just really working together. And I think that's shown the last couple of weeks.
So specifically, though, is Mike Horton?
Yeah, Mike Horton's a guy we believe in, no question. And he even plays in some of our sets. I don't know if y'all have noticed that. So he's starting to get some action like we've done with some guys in the past. So, yeah, there's definitely more than those 6. I think what Coach was alluding to is we got 6 guys we believe have starter ability. And then after that, there's definitely the backups that we rep every week, and we believe in those guys too.
So if the situation called for it, could he play guard?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and that's some things in that off week that he repped at some too. But yeah, he's got the ability to do that.
I saw a stat where there's been 4 500-yard rushing games in the SEC since 2000. And Tim Hortons coached all those running backs in that game.
Right.
What's that say about him being the common?
Well, I think it probably says there's no coincidence. Tim is as steady of a person, of a coach, of a professional, and an individual as you're going to find in this business. I mean, he's not a guy that seeks a lot of praise and attention, but everywhere he's been, he's put running backs in the NFL. He's had 1,000-yard rushers, and I think he does a great job developing guys, from when they arrive to when they leave. And he just coaches a position extremely well. And I think his players really believe, and they appreciate the consistency with which he coaches them. And that's the same way he is in everything. And with us as a staff, on the road recruiting, I mean, Tim's just you're not going to find a better coach, a better mentor for young guys. And he takes his craft really seriously. He's as detailed. I've learned a lot from him, just from how meticulous, how detailed, how consistent he is. He's very diligent, and I think that's why it carries over to his players' performance.
You guys have had 3 400-yard rushing games right now. I don't want to make direct
Right.
comparisons to 2013, but what's that like as a play caller, as an offensive coach, when you know that the other opponent knows you're going to run the ball and you're still able to do it very consistently?
Well, it's a huge plus when you have that ability to lean on a strength like that. Saturday was kind of unusual. I think the last time it was like that was probably the Tennessee game in 13 that, you're averaging around 10 yards a carry and there's not as much need to throw the football. That's very rare. That's not going to happen again this year probably. But the guys were doing a good job, being physical up front. I think the real reason that you saw the big spike in explosive runs, a lot of the credit goes to our guys on the perimeter. That was by far the best game our wideouts have blocked. And I think the biggest thing to take away from that game is you got a guy like Tony Stevens. He had 0 catches. And he's smiling as happy as he's ever been on the sidelines. Marcus Davis, 0 catches. Kyle Davis, 0 catches. Darius Slayton, 0 catches. They didn't care. Usually those guys catch balls in a game. I mean, Tony had been having a couple really good back-to-back games. But, every game has its own personality and what's working, and we were rolling. But the real reason we were getting a lot of 30 and 40 and 50-yard runs and not a lot of 8, 10, and 12-yard runs was because those guys were doing a really good job being physical and manning their guys up on the perimeter. And that way, when things bounced or spit to the second level, our running backs were able to go the distance or make big plays.
There were 2 or 3 throws by Sean, one at least, that could have been a pick six.
Absolutely.
Was he rusty from the bye week? Was he seeing something incorrectly? Was it the defense?
No, I think there's 2 throws I think you're alluding to. The first one was early in the game down their sideline. We were very fortunate. They played the play very well. It was kind of a unique play. It wasn't something we do. It was something only did for them. And they played it well, and that probably goes more to me, not giving them a better out. And we were fortunate that could have been a pick six. And then we had another play on a 3rd down later in the game that they just played exceptionally well. And every now and then the hat goes off to them. And he saw it at the last second and kind of threw the ball off just enough. They weren't able to pick it off. But I thought when he threw the ball, he threw it very accurately other than those 2 positions. And like I said, one of them, I put him in a bad spot. And there was probably 2 third downs that could have given him a better play as well.
Rhett, we talked about the importance of pre-snap motion in your offense, what it's been doing for you this year.
Yeah, I mean, pre-snap motion does a lot of things. Obviously, it can try to help you gain a look or a schematic advantage that you want. It also just gives the defense more to look at, and they have to adjust on the fly when things are going fast. And it's something that we try to do from time to time, and it just helps. Obviously, when a defense can just sit and sink their heels in and know where everybody is, it's a lot easier to play defense. But when you can give them things, they got to adjust on the fly every now and then. They get out of position, and that helps you. So that's why we do it.
I think the first month of the season, y'all were one of the worst teams in the country in terms of negative plays. Now, the last month, in October, you're first
Yeah.
in the country and you was allowed. What's been the biggest difference when it comes to that?
Probably a couple things. We've tried as a staff to do a better job of giving them, putting them in better position. And I alluded to a couple times we didn't do that on Saturday. I think the other thing is we've kind of simplified things and played faster. And I think sometimes as coaches we can try to call the right play all the time. And, really we got to try to put them in the best position to be successful, but we got to call the plays and let them go play. And I think that's why our tempo's been better. There's been times we've made good plays into looks that weren't ideal, but we're playing faster. Our guys have confidence, and we're not putting them in as many bad situations. And obviously we focused on it because that was an issue early on. So I didn't know we were first or whatever, but I knew we had eliminated that. I think the second thing to look at is in 3 of the last 4 games we haven't had an offensive penalty. And I don't know if I've ever been a part of that, but we had no penalties, and we finally had a clean game, even though we were fortunate on a couple with no turnovers. And the penalties keep you, at Mississippi State, we had 2 holds. We were in 1st and 20 twice. Well, we converted one, we didn't the other. I mean, it's hard to do that. And so we've been able to stay on schedule, not just with negative plays, but not having a lot of penalties that, offset that as well.
Is it a conscious effort to not substitute as much to be able to do those things too, especially at the wide receiver position?
Absolutely. I mean, there's certain things guys do better than others, and there's still times you do those things in situations. But, again, trying to keep the same guys on the field. And, again, so it may seem simpler, but we're able to play faster and we're able to execute at a higher level because things are simpler. It's not as – again, we're just – a lot of times as coaches we try to make everything perfect. Well, very rarely is it going to show up perfect on game day. And so that's probably one thing that's helped.
It seems that Chandler has been a lot more consistent
Yeah.
in the last few games. What do you think the key's been to that for him?
Yeah, Chandler's been really physical. I mean, he's been the last 2 games, Mississippi State and Arkansas, he's played extremely physical. That's the guy that, we recruited in high school. I mean, he loves the game, man. And, it's no shocker that he starts playing better now. He starts getting a few balls and all that kind of stuff. So, but I thought Mississippi State was kind of his biggest improvement game, and then he just carried that over through the bye week. And again, when that position's playing well and productive, even if they're not catching a lot of balls, but he's being productive at his position, that makes our running game go, kind of like Jay did back in 2013. The same role he's had. I mean, he's a true freshman. I think you've seen he's got a lot of ability. He's done a really good job. The last 2 games, caught the big pass at Mississippi State, did some good things the other night. Obviously Cameron, Pway, and carry on our starters. And so those are the guys that we're going to lean on. But, having Cameron come along and do what he's doing gives you a lot of confidence, especially with Malik out. And then him and Stanton are both change of pace guys that complement those other 2 very well. And so we just got to try to continue to find ways to have them involved. But it also just gives us confidence that if we continue to have an injury here or there, that he can help us win.
Gus was saying last week that on the bye week, y'all really focus on the development of the freshmen. What have you seen specifically from Eli Stone, especially after that game he had?
Yeah, well, I mean, his confidence is really high. But, Eli's a guy that's really been trending, in our eyes, real positive ever since the Monroe week. And we specifically had him in more against Monroe. He did some things in that game and had a few catches and had a few carries and such. And I thought he was just kind of like everything just kind of slowed down for him somewhere around week, 4 or 5. And every freshman's different, like we've said before. And he's peaking at the right time for us. He didn't do as much at Mississippi State. That wasn't necessarily by design. It's just the way the game went. Obviously, last week was kind of his coming out party. And I'm surprised James hadn't asked. We scored on the first drive. Actually, the first play. We did that for him because I know last time I got the question of when are you going to score on your opening drive. So we just went ahead and did it on the first play and got that out of the way. Yeah, I thought about that actually during the game, right when he scored. I said, well, that one's checked off.
Rhett, Tony Stevens said that he feels like the way Cameron Pway runs is kind of like what Jerome Bettis had. Is there a guy he reminds you of that you saw or that you actually coached that he's similar to?
He doesn't remind me of anybody I've actually coached. Jerome Bettis is probably good. I'm sure he went there because of the number.
Actually, no, because he's big.
Someone's got to be old school and go Christian Okoye or something from, the Chiefs back in the day. If you're talking about Auburn, we've had guys like, Rudy Johnson and Brandon Jacobs and those kind of guys. I mean, the thing that's incredible about Pway is, when he gets to second level, people are kind of getting out of the way. As Coach Han likes to say, people are making business decisions when he gets to the second level, because that's why you see everybody trying to tackle him low. But he's able to go downhill north-south and be a one-cut runner. And, I mean, he goes north-south at such a rate that is unusual for big guys. He's got good, quick, shifty feet. He can go north-south, and he makes one cut. He doesn't dance around. And then because of that, he's able to run through a lot of arm tackles as well.
Just what you see at Ole Miss defense, obviously number-wise, they give up a lot of rushing yards.
Right.
This is a group that's very familiar with you guys too. How
Yeah.
much does that play into it?
Well, like I said, they've been pretty good on third downs. They have had a couple games, in the running category where they've given up some big plays, and that's really the reason I think it's skewed that way. They're a lot different than, say, Arkansas, Mississippi State. They're very athletic. They're not quite as big on the up front, but they're very athletic. They rush the passer better than both those teams. They move a lot, and I think that allows those guys to make plays. And then just from a scheme standpoint, they do a little bit more. They're more of a blitzing, a more of aggressive defense. And every now and then when you're that way, you give up a few big plays, but you also make some big plays. So it's a little different than the last 2 weeks for us. We have to be able to, to execute at a high level and get hats on hats so we don't have negative plays.
Rhett, is there any correlation between, what you mentioned about Chandler playing well and just being able to focus on being an X-factor of what he was doing earlier in the season where he was doing the Wildcat stuff?
Yeah.
That
I'd say that's a fair assessment because there was times in fall camp that he was working with tailbacks instead of the fundamental aspects of his position. And so that's probably not a coincidence that when he kind of was able to hone back in on one position, he started improving and playing better.
All right. Who's 98 in your big package?
Who's 98? Oh, the new 98.
Yeah.
It's Tucker Brown. Yeah. All right.